So I'm going to be teaching you guys about slope staggering today. This is going to be the first part in a multi-part series where I go over just about everything I know about building hulls. So let's hop in. For those of you who don't know slope staggering, this is going to be mainly addressed to you. To start, I've built a little rig that's built specifically to show off how slope staggering works. So I'll be using two terms that I'm just going to cover real quickly. This is going to be the y-axis, and looking down the length of this beam here is the x-axis. So to start, here we have a block with a face of 1 meter spanning the y-axis and another meter spanning the x-axis. So what kind of slope will we put in? If you just looked at my menu, you probably could already tell that it's going to be a 1 meter slope. And that is exactly right. It connects these two corners and creates a smooth face across them. For this next part here, we have a 1 meter on the y-axis and a 2 meters on the x-axis, so without a doubt, we're probably going to go with a 2 meter slope. Once again, we have that perfect clean face across those blocks. Why 2 meter? Well, let's just slap in a 3 meter and see what happens. We've kind of overshot the distance we want to span. Or if we did a 1 meter, you undershoot it. So 2 meters is the right length there. 1 by 3, whoop-de-doo, we're going to slap in a 3 meter there. Did I say 1 by 2? I don't know, I'm tired. This is my second time doing this video, so I'm a little cranky, but that's okay. So, a 1 by 4 meter, that's going to be our longest length in our inventory, and as you can see, it doesn't go on down any further, is the 1 by 4 meter, or the 4 meter slope, I should say. Now, we have a 1 on the y and 5 meters on the x-axis. Now that's a little unfortunate because we only go up to 4 meters. So what are we going to do to fix this problem? Well, that's simple. We just slap a 4 meter in there and let the optical illusion of that very slight angle trick the eye into thinking it's a 5 meter. Yes, it's pretty obvious now that you're looking at it, but once you start dealing with ships that are 100, 2 meters, even 300 meters long, things like this are kind of really small in the grand scheme of things, and your eyes just blur it all together. And also greatly helps get the shape right. So if you're dealing with the correct block proportions, like 1 by 5, 1 by 7, 1 by whatever, and so on, where you're supposed to, and if you just use 4 meters to fill in the gaps, then you're all right. Now here's a 1 by 6 meter, and it's kind of the same thing. Just slap it at 4 meter. Now, if you want to get technical, you can go to the mimic blocks. So here's an example. I'm not going, well, okay, fine, I'll do it for you guys. How to use a mimic block? Just look up the block you want to mimic. So we're going to go with metal, and we're going to find a 4 meter slope here. And then we want to make this thing 5 meters long. So that's going to take a lot of math. It's not that one. Yeah, this is me using mimics. It's kind of just figuring out which one's what. We're going to go with 1.25 meters and see if that works. And play around with figure out what positioning we want to use. I think it's forward, backward. And then, ba-boom. We've just made a 5 meter slope, more or less. So if you want to get really precise, and if you don't mind doing it without your builds, that's one way to do it. And you can do it so on and so on after 4 meters. Mimics do have a certain length. I think it's like, I don't know how long you can make a 4 meter slope, but I've done something for like 16, I think, once. It was pretty impressive. Now in this red section back here, I'm just going to show you what to do if your y-axis starts growing instead of your x-axis. That's pretty obvious. You just, instead of shortening the x-axis more, you're just going to start lengthening your y-axis. So we put in a 2 meter in there, and just turn around also the other 3 meter, and then there, and you can start to see that nice smooth shape we have as we transverse from a very long x-axis to a starting to be long y-axis. Okay, and so all of that is horizontal slope staggering, meaning that all of the slopes we staggered were on a horizontal plane. Moving on, we're going to talk about vertical slope staggering, which is slope staggering on a vertical plane. So what you have before you are going to notice these slope staggers in here with a 90-degree, we're going to call this our hull. It's not actually a hull, but it's kind of that flat side of the ship. Now we're using slope staggering to kind of to adjust the shape of that hull. However, you're going to notice that we're kind of just using horizontal slope staggering in a vertical way. That is not actually how we do it. That's kind of an outdated technique. What most realistic builders anyways do nowadays is what I generally just refer to as vertical slope stagger. So we're starting here with a 3-meter 3-meter slope. So what we're going to do is, instead of just using that vertically and having that nice sharp 90-degree angle ruining our visuals, we're going to replace that with 3 4-meter slopes. And you can already just start to see how much smoother it's making this shape. And we're just going to keep doing that. So we have a 2-meter here. So we just replace it with 2 4-meter slopes. 1 meter, just replace it with a single 4-meter slope, and you can start to see it taking shape here. The only trade-off, instead of having that nice, awkward 1-meter difference between where we were and where we're going to be now, we just creating a smooth transition with only a minuscule offset. And it's hardly noticeable the bigger and bigger you get. Sure, you can look for it even on the biggest builds, but just in the grand scheme of things, it's kind of an optical illusion, I guess. It's how your brain pieces it together. So we have a 2-meter here, same thing, just replace it and with a 4-meter slope. Don't replace it at, so I kind of just want to cover this real quick. If you have a 2-meter here, don't just replace it and go that. That's not how you do it. You want to replace it with where the back end of the 2-meter was. Yeah. So here's where things are going to get interesting. So I could just keep slapping in 4 meters as we go over and over. But you're going to notice this length is getting pretty long. And then we're starting to have that 90-degree, we start to have this awkward 90-degree overhang, like 1 meter wide, and so on and so on. So, but you will notice that our vertical stagger distance has increased to 4 meters. So how that works is 1, 2, 3, 4, up 1, and you're staggering a vertical distance of 4 meters. So how that works, or how we're going to explain that is, so come back down here. If the overhang is more than 4 meters, then you can use angled slopes. So, being one of these bad boys, slap that in there where the 4-meter was, and then boom. And we're going to do the same thing for... Oh yeah, and then obviously cap it off with a metal triangle if the stagger is 4 meters, and I'll show you what happens if you get a little longer. So we're going to do it again because our stagger is... I didn't have it originally, but there was supposed to be something like that up there or whatnot. Sorry, like that. That's what I meant to have. So if you're trying to get something to line up here, or just a longer stagger of this word than your next stagger starts, then you can just put one of those things in there to lengthen it another meter, or so on and so on, if your stagger starts to become longer than 4 meters. So you can do it for 6, 8, so on and so on. I think you get the point. So you can start to see how smooth that shape is. And that is what the shape I just built is something I call a column. And in slope staggering and hull building, this is kind of a very important part, at least in my method anyways, or how I approach it, because it'll be important in the next parts. I'm going to show you what a second column looks like, and this is going to be a duplicate of the first, except it's pushed forward by 5 meters. So it's 4 meters plus 1 meter, and we start here. So up 3, and then we just kind of keep placing those 2, and you can start to see how it's at a smooth yet it's smooth and yet it's at an angle. and it's bringing in multiple shapes. So we keep going up here, kind of following that path of 5 meters ahead of it. As I said, or I think I said anyways, not all columns in hull building are going to be the exact same shape. Just for the purposes of this video, I am making them the exact same shape. So now if we were to keep doing that, you'll notice we come up to that angle part again. If we put one in there, you'll notice this awkward kind of where two planes aren't supposed to meet kind of thing in there. And that's where we switch back to 4 meters again. So put one in there, you'll notice that 1 meter stagger between the slopes is still present. Come up here, put in our 1 meter stagger again, up, and finishing it off there. So you can really start to see kind of that smooth shape coming in from vertical slope staggering. You can probably see easily why it's a very prominent thing to use when making aesthetic hulls. So the phone is ringing, and I don't have editing software, so I'm just gonna call it here. Thanks, guys. I'm really not a great YouTuber, and I'm just kind of making this so you guys can kind of get the point. Oh, hey, it stopped ringing. With that further ado, I'm just going to show you kind of one of my vehicles so you can kind of see how slope staggering works in action, both horizontal and vertical. And so I don't lose this rig, I'm just going to save real quick, because always save your blueprints. You'll never know when you need them again. And also save early and often, because you'll never know when FTD will crash and you'll lose hours of progress. So here is one of my later builds. And let's come down to here. It's an ocean liner I'm working on. And I'm going to take you to the bow section, which is currently submerged, so let's bring you up. So you can start to see, even on low settings, that nice smooth curve to the hull, and that's all thanks to a combination of that horizontal slope staggering, which you can kind of see down here, coming into a 4 meter stagger, and then starting to lengthen to 5 meter. I think we're on to 6 meter stagger by now, and so on and so on, and it starts to lengthen until it smoothly meets the side of the hull. And it's kind of, once again here, but just with an angle, is we're doing the same thing, even if we're kind of taking into account bow shear. So we put these on spin blocks, 2 of them to be exact, I believe. So yeah, and you can start to see even just all of these things are just columns upon columns of vertical slope stagger. So I'm just going to paint some of these red so you can kind of start to see what a column looks like. And this is just, so what I'm painting right now is a bunch of columns all in a row. And I guess I don't really have to do the full section, but just kind of just see that that's how columns work, and that's how slope stagger works, is that even on that left side, you get that really interesting angled slope just because of how slope staggering changes with each column, but each column is just a vertical row. The only thing that really sets them out is the vertical slope stagger. So that's that, and I'll be coming over more of that, more in depth, in the next video, where I start to go more into hull building and basically the basics of that. But thanks for watching, and I hope you guys enjoyed this, and be on the lookout for more.